Welcome, everybody, to the Stone Down Sports Podcast. My name is Matt. Really happy to be here with you. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you out there. If you celebrate it, even if you don't, hopefully you had a paid day off work. We are going to be diving into week 12 of the NFL season and giving you the information you need to make the right decisions with your fantasy football team. We're also going to chat about the games that have taken place here today. As always, I'm joined by Harlem Heat, Kyle, and Ramey. Kyle, that was an absolutely disgusting Lions game earlier today. We're going to touch on it because, it just happened a little bit ago, but damn, was that a disappointment.
I don't really want to talk about it, Ramey. Do you want to talk about it? Because it pissed me off the whole time.
Yeah, we're still within the 4-minute window, so maybe I should talk for a little bit.
Yeah, agreed.
So, hope you guys had a nice Thanksgiving, celebrating. It was similar to last week's game against the Bears, except the comeback didn't happen. I guess a little bit. They ended up losing by 7 points. We talked about it before we got on here. It's a long season. I know it's discouraging because there was such hype coming into this game, Thanksgiving and national stage, the only game on TV, lunchtime, everybody's sitting around. Finally, the Lions are good and worth having that Thanksgiving Day game, and they kind of poop the bed. So poop the bed, not the other one. But yeah, it was Goff just didn't play very well. Monty had a decent game. He had 71 yards and a touchdown for you fantasy owners. But it just seems like they came out kind of flat and really couldn't recover from it. And some turnovers early in the game that they just couldn't kind of get it out of their own way. So I feel for you guys, because I know that you guys were excited about this game to kind of showcase how good the team has been playing. And they're still 8-3, so they're still in the hunt. And you're going to have these games throughout the season. You're not going to go undefeated. So I feel like I'm trying to talk you guys off the ledge a little bit. I just think it's a long season. When you're looking back at towards the end of the season, you're going to say, yeah, it kind of sucked that they lost, but hey, we're in the playoffs. So
yeah. And at the end of the day, that's what, matters. But I think this is, 7 games in a row they've lost on Thanksgiving, 6, 7. I don't know. It's not been good. Not been good. Goff fumbled 3 times.
Yeah.
Fantasy wise, Monty had a touchdown and 71 yards on the ground. So that helped. I saw did you guys see Malcolm Rodriguez get a
he was out there quite a bit on offense.
Yeah. I was like, what's going on with that? So Amon-Ra, same as usual. 11 targets, 9 receptions, 95 yards. He's always solid. But let's see. George plays in the house. Good evening. Happy Thanksgiving, sir. Non-PPR for a flex, Jaylen Warren or Charbonnet?
I think did we have this question on Tuesday?
We might have.
It was somebody in Charbonnet, and I'll go. I think Jaylen Warren's the pick. I just think the Niners line is too tough tonight on a short week. With Geno playing the way that he is, I think they'll be able to kind of focus on the run game. And Ken Walker's obviously out. Is he out officially? I know he was questionable earlier in the day, but I think I'd go Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, agreed wholeheartedly. Charbonnet just has a brutal matchup. And if this were a PPR, I may be inclined to think a little bit differently. But considering it's not, give me Jaylen Warren. He's the more explosive player.
Yeah, I got to just go ahead and make it unanimous there. If it was a PPR, I would definitely say go with Charbonnet because the 49ers are 13th, allowing 345 yards so far to receiving backs. But since it's I'm going to go. I think Charbonnet's going to get some volume. I just don't know what he's going to be able to do with it.
Yeah.
Excellent question, George. Thanks a lot. And he's got a follow-up question. Non-PPR, 2 out of these: Kupp, Waddle, Olave, and Dell. Dell and Waddle for me.
I tend to agree. I will give the caveat that if Jameis Winston is starting, I will swap out Waddle for Olave.
Carr's playing.
He probably is.
He already passed the thing.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Old news.
Oh,
he's
right.
playing.
I saw he was progressing. So,
he passed the independent neurological exam, I believe, today.
Any hesitation with Waddle being against the Jets tomorrow afternoon?
No.
Not really.
I see what you're saying. I think they're going to try and take away Tyreek, and that might leave some open shots for Waddle.
Yeah, Cup is an immediate disregard for me.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Olave is so much better with Jameis than he is with Derek Carr. But yeah, Waddle is a damn yak machine, and Tank Dell is putting up big numbers week after week.
Awesome. Thanks for jumping in, George. Appreciate the question as usual. One thing I wanted to bring up, guys, is we hit 100 subscribers yesterday evening or so, I noticed. So I wanted to say a big thank you to all our subscribers, listeners, viewers, anybody that's ever jumped on here, asked a question, and interacted with us. We really appreciate it. We couldn't do this without you guys, not at all. So we're hoping to keep this going, and 250 is a new goal for me personally. So
I'm on the drive for 5.
Drive for 5. All right, let's jump right in it. Or no, do we got any more?
We got Buff in here.
Lions, Packers.
It's okay, but it does suck. You damn straight, Buff. That's just, it is what it is. We didn't really expect the Lions to go undefeated the rest of the way. So,
yeah. Like the last thing I'll say about the game is it was kind of the regression to the mean for the going for it on fourth down. They went for it on fourth down. Gosh, 4 or 5 times against the Chargers last week, and they got all of them. And this week they were just not successful on fourth down. Kind of went for it in some questionable spots too.
That fake punt, everybody and their mother saw that coming. That was terrible. But look, it's great when it works, and we ain't bitching when it works.
Yep.
Switch. Cowboys are currently up 23-10 with 13.5 left in the game. Prescott's already got 274 and 2.
Whew.
Pollard got a touchdown today.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was right before halftime. They were
and I needed CD Lamb to get one for this parlay, and it's probably not going to happen now because
he's still good.
The shit out of the ball.
Curtis Samuel's
still
got
could.
11 targets too, which is nuts.
Brandon Cooks had a touchdown.
Yep.
He's been coming on as of late.
Sure. Yeah. Dowdle had that one. I saw that live, but I think we all thought that definitely Dallas would win this. It looks like they're going to. You guys want to just get into Thursday night football? Thanksgiving Thursday night football, I should say.
Yeah. Sure. Let's jump in.
49ers going to Seahawks to deal with the 12s there. I'm sure it's going to be loud as hell. It looks like Geno's going to play. So we'll see how effective he is with that. Basically, I believe it's a bruised elbow, I think I read. So probably a pain tolerance thing. But if he gets hit the wrong way or lands the wrong way on it, he could be quickly out of the game. And then that's Drew Lock time, and nobody's going to benefit from that.
This game's for the division lead, the NFC West. They play each other 2 out of the next 3 weeks, so they'll have whoever loses will have a chance kind of at a revenge game back in San Francisco in 2 weeks from tonight. But yeah, if Seattle manages to win, they would have the tiebreaker and would be the division leader, kind of surprisingly.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing that happen. And look, an injured Geno Smith or Drew Lock, 6 of one, half dozen the other. Like I'm not thrilled about either one. The sad part is Seattle's outside receivers have a pretty good matchup against San Francisco's corners. And you would think, all right, cool, that's going to help out JSN as well. Not so fast, because the Niners moved their best cover corner into the slot against 11 personnel like that. And the Seahawks are only running 11 personnel about 62.5% of the time, which is in the bottom half of the league. Charbonnet's got a shitty matchup. San Francisco gives up the 6th fewest points to running backs and only 6 total touchdowns all season long. We'll see what happens. Those players, you're going to start DK, you're going to start Lockett. starting Charbonnet if you have to, especially if you had Ken Walker and were smart enough to handcuff him. But you're not really thrilled about any of them, just given the situation at quarterback. This is one that could get out of hand early, and Brock Purdy might only have 20 attempts this game.
Yeah, I saw.
It might.
Go
That's
ahead,
a good
Kyle.
point, Matt. No, I was just kind of agreeing. That's a good point, Matt.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the difference is Geno, it seems like this year versus last year. Last year, he led the league in completion percentage, and he's at 65% this year, which is good for 20th. So he's in the lower third this year and just isn't playing how he played last year, and that seems to kind of be the difference. They're still 6-4, and it looks like they're on track to maybe get a wild card spot, but they just offensively aren't as sharp as they were last year. So I don't know that it'll be a blowout, but I think the Niners will cover, and I think it'll be a fairly low scoring game just because of the short week and all these primetime games seem to be hitting the under. So
yeah. I don't think Geno's going to do very well either. You know, he's San Francisco's fourth in pressure rate at 40%. When he's been pressured this season, he's 5.1 per attempt, 26 in the league, which is garbage. Who I think is going to have a good game is Purdy.
Yeah.
Even if he only has to throw 20 times. Seahawks are pretty much they play zone coverage 82% of the passing plays. That's third in the league. Purdy devours cover 3. He's 76% on his passes, 9.1 per attempt, which is third in the league. And he had great games against Seattle last season, both games. 9.8 yards per attempt, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and they only sacked him twice in those 2 games. So,
yeah, it does kind of feel like one of those games where Purdy's going to go 17 of 20 for 203 yards and like 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
I think George Kittle is going to score one of those touchdowns. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and place that wager right now.
Nice.
I think this is going to be a Kittle game.
It could be.
What do you think about Ayuk? Think Ayuk will get one too?
It's possible.
It certainly is.
Purdy loves him some Brandon Ayuk. That is for sure.
Yeah, he does.
That is for sure. He's accounted for almost 43% of San Francisco's air yards. That makes him the 8th receiver in the league. It's tough. I just lost my whole total everything. It's gone. Somebody else
we saw it. We saw it.
I'm like, it's gone.
We were on the edges
right,
of our seats, just waiting to see what you had. And
I had something good there, and
tough.
It's gone.
Yeah, I like I was saying, I really like Kittle this week, and really since week 5, he's been amazing. He's been the tight end 2 in that span, averaging over 18 points a game. CMC, this whole offense, CMC has been a running back 2. Purdy is the QB 7. Ayuk is the wide receiver 16, but he's really come on as of the past 2-3 weeks here. So this is an offense that's starting to hum along, especially given where they were just a few weeks back, coming off a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah. Seattle at the beginning of the season, their run defense was a lot better, and it's kind of went down the shitter the last 4 weeks. Over the past 4 weeks, they've allowed 5.1 yards per carry to running backs, 29th in the league. And the running backs are having a 63.5% success rate on those carries. It's not good. I think CMC and Kittle tonight, big games.
We shall see in about an hour.
I just don't like the Seahawks because they have the Lions number. So piss on them. Piss on the 12th man. They're all a bunch of dickheads. Go Lions.
Yeah.
Touchdown CD Lamb.
Hey.
Nice. So we need CMC tonight for a parlay. Hell yeah.
Yeah, DraftKings had a little, what was it, 33% parlay boost on a 3-leg or more touchdown parlay, or 3-leg touchdown parlay.
You had to pick one from me, at least one from each game.
Well, you can only pick one from each game because then it makes it a same game parlay if you pick 2. Remember, we ran into that. Anyways, yeah, who was the first game? Monty, CD Lamb, and then CMC.
Nice.
To win a couple dollars here. cash and tickets on Thanksgiving Day.
Any more for Seattle 49ers?
No.
I don't think so.
All right. Transitioning to a big NFC South matchup. We haven't really talked too much Saints and Falcons, so trying to switch it up a little bit. Saints head to Atlanta. Let's see, New Orleans is favored by 1.5. The total is 41.5. I could see that going under, especially since Carr's playing. First thing you need to know is Marshawn Lattimore's out. Drake London might be a nice start this week. You're probably starting him regardless, but I like him even better. And Ritter's back. So that was the big announcement throughout the bye or whatever, because they just got off a bye.
Because Heineke's
Ritter.
out, right?
He's out or he's
Hurt.
something.
Yeah, I think wasn't he out with a concussion last time or something like that?
Something
That
like
was a
that.
hamstring.
Oh, hamstring concussion, same thing.
Yeah,
But
pretty much. It is hamstring.
Is it? Falcons
Yeah.
have lost their last six of their last 7 games to the Saints. I think it's a little more equal now with Lattimore being out and Michael Thomas is out as well
On the IR.
Might be a nice big game for A.T. Perry. Guy's freaking 6'5", which is an advantage for him with Lattimore being out, because Lattimore definitely is does well against those big receivers.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Rashid Shaheed might do with some more targets there.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas was averaging about 6.5 a game. So the new distribution of those targets is really going to tell us a lot. I imagine A.T. Perry is definitely going to get his share, but Rashid Shaheed is just so damn explosive.
He is. He's been an all or nothing flex play all year.
Yeah.
He did match Olave in target share in week 10 after Michael Thomas left the game. So
should bode well for Kyle's boy Taylor Hill.
Taysom Hill, yeah, Taylor Hill, yeah,
yeah. Might see something from him this weekend because of Michael Thomas being out, trying to kind of redistribute those passes. Man, too much turkey today.
Those like Shaheed and Olave, they're both kind of relying on the vertical component of the game. Atlanta's allowed 5 touchdowns to receivers on throws of 20 or more yards downfield this year, 28th in the league. So if Carr's having a good Carr day, it could happen. If it's going to be the same old, don't press your luck on that one.
I'd like Olave and Shaheed if Jameis were playing. I think with Carr I think with Carr playing, it's going to be more Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara.
I mean, to be honest, Jameis Winston's not any more accurate than David Carr is, or Derek Carr.
But he likes to throw it deep. He loves to throw it deep.
There is that. I don't know what Taysom Hill's going to do today. He plays best and gets his best fantasy output when they're tied or up. So because he's going to get those extra like QB rushes and things like that. So we'll see what happens.
He's the Mormon victory cigar.
Yeah. Definitely will require a positive game script.
No tobacco in that cigar.
The ceiling could be huge that things go right, and he could get a couple touchdowns, help you out. But
it's possible. I think both running backs are going to struggle. The Falcons give up the 4th fewest points to running backs. The Saints give up the 3rd fewest. And the Falcons are only giving up 3 catches for 26 yards per game to running backs. And that's a good way Kamara kind of makes his hay. I think this is a game that's going to have to be won through the air. And I trust Derek Carr to do that more than I do Desmond Ridder. Although with Ridder, he does have that, his ability to run and make some plays with his legs. And I was kind of disappointed that they didn't incorporate more of that into the offense in the beginning of the year, because you can clearly see dude is struggling. Do something to get him some confidence.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like Derek Carr's the shiniest turd in this game. Like the quarterback you least trying to figure out how to say it. It's not like you trust him more, but he's the least you worry about or something like that. I don't know. It sounded better in my head.
It's all right.
Yeah. This game is for the division lead as well. New Orleans is 5-5. Atlanta's 4-6. So if Atlanta wins, they will be leading the division, have the tiebreaker.
That's why we're talking about. That's why we're talking about this game. That's why.
Yeah. You knew there was a reason, right?
I knew there was a reason.
Because NFC South football is where it's at.
Oh,
you know, the Falcons have scored 23 or more points in 3 straight. They're putting up a number, and the Saints have only given up 23 or more points 4 times this season.
Yeah,
so
something's got to give in Atlanta.
Is the magic number.
I know. You were mentioning the Falcons' run defense being good. They haven't allowed a rushing touchdown. I don't know if you mentioned that or not to a running back yet this season, but they have allowed 3 through the air. I still like Kamara in this game. I think he's still a fringe RB1 with, a boost in a PPR league, a boost in his floor in the PPR league, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, if you got him, you're starting.
Yeah, he's since week 4, since he came back, he's leading all running backs in targets at 56, receptions at 50, and receiving yards at 305. Even accounting for his bye week last week, he's still the top.
Nice.
Very good. It's very good. Very good. Very good. Anybody else?
No, I think we've checked off the NFC South for.
Yeah, that's been about
actually.
Or so.
Yeah. Got another NFC South team we're going to be talking about here in a minute.
Absolutely. Buccaneers 4-6. Traveling to your Indianapolis Colts, sitting at 500, coming out of their bye week. Line's 2.5 there for favored to Indy. 44.5 is the total. I kind of like the under in this game, but we shall see. The Colts are 5-0 when they have a lead at halftime, and they're 0-5 when they've trailed at halftime. So obviously, what they do in the first half definitely dictates what happens at the end of the game for them.
So you're telling me I should bet Colts halftime lead and full game lead, and then also halftime loss, full game loss. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Hedge your bet.
Yeah,
hedge your bet for sure.
Yeah. I actually think this game's going to go over the 44.5 with the Colts coming off a bye week. Josh Downs seemed to be healthy. I think the fact that both Tampa and the Colts are kind of weaker in the secondary. I think the Colts are weaker than Tampa is, but I think this is going to be an opportunity for Baker Mayfield and Gardner Minshew to both air it out a little bit. I think coming off of that long rest, I think everybody will be kind of ready to go. And I look for Jonathan Taylor to have a big game as well. I think that he's finally, when I say finally, it's been a couple weeks now, but I think he's incorporated himself into that offense to where they're going to rely on him for 20 or so carries and 4 to 5 targets through the air, because they continue to seem to kind of expand his role there in the passing game. Shane Steichen's really trying to be more creative with him in the offense. And I think it's a Josh Downs 7 catches for 70 yards and maybe a touchdown. And I think Michael Pittman's a start as well. He's going to have a nice game. I think both teams are going to put up some points, and I think it's going to go over the 44.5.
I'm going to disagree with you on JT. The Bucs are the second worst matchup for running backs. They're only giving up an average of 9.9 points per week in a PPR. He is going to get the volume though, and you're right. They are looking to include him more out of the backfield, but this is kind of a temper your expectations game, I think. On the flip side of that, Rachaad White, this is the resistible force meets the movable object. Colts give up the 8th most rush yards and the 4th most fantasy points to running backs. He's one of those guys, another one who really makes his hay in the passing game, but he can't break a tackle to save his life. I mean, you got a dude leading your backfield that doesn't have an ass. He's just got a really long back, and as soon as he's contacted, he's on the ground.
Yeah. The Indianapolis have allowed allowed 11 rushing touchdowns to the running back position.
Yeah.
Yep.
Could happen. We'll see.
Yeah, and up until that snoozer of a game in, I guess, the last 2 weeks, but they were playing the Panthers and the Patriots. That defense was giving up a ton of points. I think they were averaging 27 or 28 points given up per game. So I think it kind of moves towards that with the fact that Baker and that Tampa offense likes to push it down the field with Mike Evans. And I think Chris Godwin's going to have a decent game, but I would look for Mike Evans to have a pretty big game as well. More so, not as well, more so than Godwin. So I don't think it's going to be a 10-6 type of game.
No, I don't either.
Captain Spock in the house. What's up? Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family as well, sir.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, Captain. Appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah.
I think either quarterbacks, Mayfield or Minshew, they're not somebody you're going to in a 2 QB league or something like that. You could start him as a QB2, but the Colts are going to play a ton of zone, specifically cover 3. Mayfield's been doing pretty well against cover 3 zone. 70.5% of his passes, 9th in the league. Same thing with Mike Evans. He's killing it against cover 3. He gets 25.7% of the team targets and 49, almost 50% of the air yards, and averaging 3.3 yards per route run in zone coverage. That's very good. Could be tough. The Colts do give up some points there.
Yeah, and having let Shaq Leonard go earlier in the week, cutting him, you could maybe him being kind of not really the leader on the field anymore, but more of the emotional leader on that defense. You might see a little bit of a letdown with the defense not having him around this week, but I just think that this is going to be a little bit of a shootout. So.
Yeah, I'm going to slow my roll on Cade Otton this week. Julian Blackmon is a hell of a safety. The Colts, they found a good one there.
Uh-huh.
I know he'd been kind of hyped up over the past few weeks. Kenny Moore has played well this year too.
Yeah.
He's been a damn solid cornerback for the Colts. So there's a couple of pieces there on that defense, but the secondary still needs some work. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they're going to be able to take advantage there. I agree with you on the over. I think that line is just about right as well.
I don't hate Cade Otton. If you need somebody, you probably don't this week because there's no buys. He runs a pass route 86% of the time out of Tampa Bay's dropbacks. That's second in the league among tight ends.
Yeah,
so he's always out there running fucking routes and shit. He's only reached 50 yards once, and you think he's pretty much floor-based tight end too. With you hope he gets a touchdown. I mean, that's what a lot of tight ends are.
Yeah, 3 for 30. He's a high-end tight end too.
Yeah,
who's touchdown dependent. You said it, buddy.
Yep. Ramey, any more Colts? This is your time to shine.
We've said no. I think the offense is going to look good this week just because of who they're playing. They've struggled actually the last couple of weeks against New England and even against the Panthers. A couple of decent defenses, but I think they get back on track, and I do think they win this game. I think they cover, but it's probably a field goal type of game, but a higher scoring. It should be a fun game to watch.
One thing I do want to point out too, and including this week, if you need them in super flex or 2 QB leagues, Gardner Minshew isn't a bad pickup. It's a great matchup against the Buccaneers. He's also got Atlanta, Houston, and Cincy are all bottom 10 matchups against.
What just happened?
I know I'm having internet problems. My screen must be frozen because
shit, it was, and it was the most amazing.
Was I like this?
Yes.
Oh, you were something. Holy shit, dude. Yeah, that's getting screen cap.
Sorry.
It's all right. That was a good laugh.
I effed up everything there.
Got Sunday's thumbnail.
Yeah.
Look how excited Kyle is for Tinker Time.
100 users.
Kyle's in control of all that stuff. Oh, Jesus.
All right. What's next on the list?
It is banners. Hold on. Jags Texans.
Titans.
Or Jags 7-3 headed to the Titans apparently in Matt's world. Headed to Houston. Jacksonville -1.5. 47.5 is the line. I could definitely easily go over in this game. CJ Stroud is just still killing it.
He's on pace for over 5,000 yards.
You got
5,035 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 8 picks as a rookie.
Yeah.
Is there? So you think about the guys like we'll say 5th year and under. Is there anyone you would choose over him to build a team around?
Anthony Richardson. I had to say
This guy. You do.
Hard to build a team around a guy that's hurt.
He looks like a dude. I mean, he looks like a guy that's going to be in the MVP, and he should be in the MVP conversation this year. So, I mean, barring any kind of injury or anything, that team is only going to continue to get better as they put pieces around him. They've got some good pieces, but I think him coming in has made those pieces look better than what they really are. So with him being there, they're going to be able to attract free agent wide receivers, free agent backs, tight ends, offensive weapons, and they seem to have hit. They traded to go back up and get Will Anderson. Seems like they made 2 really good draft picks. So if they continue to draft well, that offense is going to be potent for years to come.
Yeah,
it is.
Plus he's on his rookie deal, and you can spend some money elsewhere. This is the time to do it.
Yeah, and they need to spend that money on their defense. They're allowing 69.9% completion percentage, which is second worst in the NFL. And they're a bottom third defense against the quarterback. They're giving up an average of 18.7 points per week. Funny thing is, Trevor Lawrence only has 2 games this season at or above 18.7 points. So it's going to be interesting there. And I think something we're kind of seeing here now is with Travis Etienne, he's a very touchdown dependent running back. He's got 2 straight games under 10 points where he hasn't scored. He's only gone over 100 yards rushing 1 time, despite having 6 games with 18 or more carries. And I know they don't use him in that, they're not going to give him 30 carries or anything like that, but still, he's one of those guys that kind of like Tony Pollard, where if you can get a good complementary piece to kind of just eat up some of those garbage carries between the tackles, short yardage, shit like that, you're really going to see him blossom even more. I think the Jaguars thought they had that when they took Tank Bigsby, but it's not really panning out that way.
No. Etienne earlier in the season just been living on volume and touchdown production. In his games where the 5 games where he had a touchdown, he's averaged 25.9 fantasy points.
You're shitting me. Bland had another pick 6.
No kidding. That's 5. Wow. In Etienne's other 5 games where he didn't have a touchdown, he only averaged 9.9. So Houston's run defense is a lot better than it was the last couple of years. So
this is another game that's for the division lead, guys.
That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah. I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah,
this was all planned out.
Yeah,
I think
Houston and Jacksonville would be tied if Houston wins, but Houston would have the tiebreaker because they would have swept the season series.
I
think this is going to be a really fun game. And to kind of go back to CJ Stroud, Matt, you made a point about their defense. Part of the reason why he's put up such good numbers is because he's had to put up those numbers to stay in games. Their defense isn't stopping anybody. But CJ Stroud stepped up with that offense and been able to keep them in the game and win quite a few of them.
Yeah. I don't know. The Jags have gave it up some big games to quarterbacks, top 10, weeks to quarterbacks. Richardson was one of them earlier in the season. Stroud earlier in the season already. Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, as well as Derek Carr. Jaguars defense isn't very good either.
Yeah.
No. You did see Calvin Ridley step up last week, and it's funny, in 3 games with Zay Jones in the lineup, he's averaging 7 grabs for 108 and a touch and 25 fantasy points. It's just ridiculous. Meanwhile, you look at Christian Kirk, he's scored under 9 points in 2 of his last 3 games, and he's seeing his target share dip to below 20% as well in 2 out of 3 games, whereas season average is about 23%. You are going to have some game over game variance, and in 3 games is a small sample size, but just make sure you keep an eye on something like that in the coming weeks, because that can quickly become a trend. And you want to stay ahead of the trends, especially this time of year.
Yeah. I mean, right now, Kirk's just a floor-based wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
I really thought he'd be more of a solid 2 all year, but no good.
The season evolves.
Yeah.
Ebbs and flows.
Right.
Evan Ingram has an NFL high 71 targets without a touchdown.
I know.
Wow.
I was just going to say this could be an Evan Ingram game. Houston allows 7.2 receptions per game to opposing tight ends. So it could be a good game for him. Maybe he can finally get that fucking touchdown. But inside the red zone, they don't go to him either. He's 2 for 27 out of 2 for 27 in the red zone team targets. That's the same number as some shitty receiver way down the list, depth chart. Can't remember his name. Strange.
How do you think the Houston backfield is going to play out with Dameon Pierce coming back? It's a bad matchup against the Jaguars to begin with, so you're not expecting Singletary to put up the numbers he has the past 2 weeks. But do you think he's going to get roughly the same amount of opportunities that he's had?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure he's going to get some touches taken away. I still think Singletary's a low RB2 flex, and Pierce is just a touchdown dependent flex this week.
Dameon Pierce has the lowest rate of runs resulting in a first down or touchdown among running backs with 50 attempts at 11%.
Yeah.
He ain't moving the chains. He ain't moving the score. Nothing.
Yeah. No, when Singletary's been, he's at over 5 per attempt. And when Pierce was in the backfield running things, he was just 3 yards per attempt. They got to go with the hot hand, I believe.
Yeah. You would think
Captain
so.
Spock. Ingram, 3rd in red zone targets last year among tight ends, not being used the same. Yep. And Pitt, same thing. That he doesn't get a lot of them in Atlanta either.
I mean, it's still nice to see 71 targets on the year, though.
It is, but it'd be nice
Especially
to see if at least 3 fucking touchdowns in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ramey. We'll shut up.
No, you're good. I was just going to talk about Singletary and Pierce. The fact that Singletary's averaging not almost, over a full yard more per carry, 4.1 to 3.0. I think you stick with Singletary. They've had more success running the ball with him. I mean, the carries are about the same, and he's got 150 more yards rushing. So I think you stick with him. I mean, they're not, like you said, Matt, they're not going to do well this week against that Jags rush defense. But I think long-term, the offense has been good no matter who's been back there. But I think they've had more success with Singletary.
Definitely.
It's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah,
it will.
It is. They definitely, Jacksonville's been more vulnerable to backs in the passing game than the rushing game, but you haven't really seen Stroud throw to running backs. So,
yeah.
Any more on that game?
He's doing just fine throwing to the wide receivers and the tight ends. Dalton Schultz, if you got him, he's a mid-range tight end one, but he's got a damn solid role in that offense too.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Bills, Eagles. Bills. 6-5 headed to Philly. They're 9-1. The line is the Eagles -3. Total's 48.5. If these changed, I did check them right before we got on here, but hopefully they're still the same. Man, Jalen Hurts. Hasn't been doing much through the air the last couple games, but over on the ground he sure has.
I think that changes this week. I think that banged up Bills defense is going to allow him to throw the ball. I think AJ Brown's going to get back on track. I think Devontae Smith is going to have a nice game. I wouldn't even be shocked if Goddard kind of has a nice game as well. I think
Goddard's hurt. He broke his arm 2 weeks ago. So
you're right.
He's not there.
God damn it.
Next.
Yeah, I'll stop and listen.
No,
I know that. Why can't I remember? Look, the Bills ain't going to do shit if Josh Allen doesn't start to take care of the ball. He's got
Yeah.
10 turnovers in the last 7 games with at least one in each of them. That said, the Eagles are the second best matchup from a fantasy perspective for quarterbacks. They're giving up an average of 23.1 points a game. The Eagles are a great matchup for wide receivers. They're, as a matter of fact, they're the best matchup for wide receivers. They're giving up 28 points a game. I'm expecting Stephon Diggs to rebound in a big way. He's been quiet the past couple of weeks. I think there's a chance for Gabe Davis to rebound. Last week, he had 100% route participation and 0 targets. Last week was a funky game. I do like Khalil Shakir over Gabe Davis, though. Gabe Davis, we've talked about it before on here. His home road splits are something else, but Davis might get loose deep for a big play or something like that. And Dalton Kincaid, he's a top 5 play this week. The Philly defense, they're at least from a pass defense perspective. They're worse than the Lions, which is saying something.
And I don't know if their pass defense is bad on like a per throw basis, but they just face a ton of volume, and they've given up a plethora of touchdowns, rushing or passing touchdowns, I should say. Plethora, throwing that out from the Three Amigos. Nobody's got it then. I must be too old for you guys.
Yeah, I probably should have picked him as my deuce, but I don't think James Cook is going to do anything this week. That Eagles rush defense is solid with Jalen Carter and others. These two teams are kind of going through a grind right now, and the difference being Buffalo seems to be losing a lot of games, and Philly seems to find a way to just kind of squeak out and keep moving along. They've only lost 1 game this year to the Jets, weirdly enough. Buffalo just is coming off of a victory against the Jets. So I think the Eagles pull out a victory here. I think Josh Allen continues to struggle. They kind of had a lift after firing Ken Dorsey, but I think they kind of regress back to what they've been looking like offensively this week.
I'll agree with that. I think if I'm betting this game, I'm buying the line down to 2.5 on the Philly side. I love DeAndre Swift this week. The Bills are a bottom 10 run defense. They're giving up 4.5 yards a carry. He's a top 10 play for me.
Yeah, I think you're going to see some explosive runs there from Swift. Bills are 7th in explosive rushing yardage allowed to running backs, ranking 20. It's bad. I think he's a fringe RB1 this week. Swift. Definitely. I think Ramey mentioned Devonta Smith.
I did.
I think that'll be also a good one too. Monday's game they had, he was 3.5 yards per route run and had over 38% target share. I think a lot of that was due to Brown being, limited and drawing a lot of attention from that Chiefs defense. I think he could do something similar this week against that Buffalo secondary. And wide receiver ones don't do well against Buffalo. It's the secondary wideouts that have been prevailing mostly fantasy-wise this season.
Cowboys game just wrapped, 45-10.
Jesus.
Yeah. They scored 25 points in the fourth quarter.
How many times did Howell throw the ball? 44 times. I said 45 to 50. That's close.
Yeah, Dak an efficient 22 of 32 for 331 and 4. That dude's been on fire. He's the best quarterback in the NFL over the past 5-6 weeks. He's playing out of his mind. 4 different receivers caught touchdown passes.
Jeez.
Yep. Good game for them. Wish the Lions could have took business at home.
11 receivers caught at least 1 pass.
So 10. Captain Spock says Devontae Smith was great last year after Goddard got injured. Probably the same this year. Yeah, you've seen a little bit of it, just happen on Monday night. That was part of the 38% target share too, with Goddard being out. Good point, Captain Spock. Okay. Any more Bills Eagles? Just trying to see.
No, I'm good, brother.
If I had anything in here. No, I don't have anything else. Ramey, you got anything else?
No, be a fun game to watch.
I think so. I think that's a 425
Yeah,
game.
not for the division lead because they aren't the
Not-
same division.
Or conference for that matter.
Yeah, correct.
Keen eye of Ramey.
Okay. Let's get into the aces and deuces, shall we? Our
Oh, that'll
version
work.
of starts and sits. If you don't know, we each pick two players we think have a good chance of having a good fantasy game, and a couple that we think that you should leave on the bench, or at least lower your expectations for this week. If one of you gentlemen would love to go first, you can go ahead.
Why don't you go first, Ramey?
I'll go
Please.
because we've talked about both of my aces already. So my first one is Texans quarterback CJ Stroud. As we talked about, I won't go too in depth on this. That Jacksonville defense is kind of weak against the pass, and I look for this game to be a little bit of a shootout. So I think CJ Stroud is going to continue to do well. The strength of the Jacksonville defense is the rush defense. So I think it'll force CJ to kind of throw a little bit more. And he's shown that he's really good at that. He's really accurate, and he distributes the ball to his receivers. So I think he will be another week for CJ Stroud where he could potentially be a top 5 QB and just continue to push towards offensive rookie of the year. My other ace, Eagles wide receiver Devontae Smith. We just talked about this. I think that the fact that the Bills defense is so banged up, they're going to focus on AJ Brown. I think AJ Brown's going to have a decent day just because he's been kind of missing in action as of late, and he seems to make it known when he's not getting targeted. But I think both him and Devontae Smith will have a nice game this week. I think that'll be another high scoring affair. I think that I think Jalen Hurts will get back on track as far as the passing game, and I think Devontae Smith going to have a similar game to what he did on Monday night against the Chiefs. Just hopefully he gets into the end zone and really solidifies that ace pick of mine. So those are my 2 aces this week.
Excellent. Captain back in there. Starting Stroud in 2 leagues. Same. I'm starting him in our my CBS keeper league, and one and starting him in my one Yahoo league. I can't remember which one, but yep. Stroud. Actually traded for Stroud, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or so, a month ago or so, because I lost Kirk Cousins. So definite. Matt, would you like to go? I think all your graphics are there.
All right. You know what? Before I jump into that, just to share a little bit of background of how things work here on the Stoned on Sports podcast. 3 of us got together earlier in the week and decided, you know what? Let's not choose our aces and deuces from the Thursday early games. And everyone was in agreement on that. Kyle texts over his picks, and who does he pick but Romeo Doubs? All right, cool. You know what? You got a little stoned on sports. You can't remember what we had just talked about. Ramey decides to make it known that, hey, Kyle, you fucked up. A few minutes later, Ramey gives us his picks, and one of them was Brian Robinson Jr. of the game that just fucking finished up, and nobody noticed until about an hour before showtime. So
I noticed. I caught my error, and in my defense, he had 15 carries for 53 yards and only 2 receptions. So he was a deuce.
Yes. Good
Bronson in the chat. Happy Thanksgiving, Bronson. Thanks for joining us on this holiday evening. His question is trade T-Law and Dalton Kincaid for Josh Allen.
That's a good question. That's a massive upgrade at
it is.
Quarterback. Who would you be starting at tight end if you got rid of Kincaid? I think that's the big question. If you have a serviceable, roughly equivalent, like low end tight end 1, I'll do it.
Let's see. It's a 2 tight end, 2 QB league. He has Taysom Hill, Logan Thomas, and Likely. You could probably survive with that the rest of the season. If Mandrews is definitely not going to come back.
I mean, he's if he comes back, it'll probably be week 18 or the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's going to be out for a minute. You know what? I'm going to do it just because that is such a huge upgrade from Trevor Lawrence to Josh Allen. And you can absorb that and just play the hot hand at tight end there between Hill, Logan Thomas, and Isaiah Likely. Just play the matchups there.
But you got to start.
You're going to have,
you got two. You got to start two. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah.
Sorry. I'm
So,
going to shut up.
yeah, you're going to have to hustle and pay attention. And Bronson's got a good point here that Kincaid is probably going to lose some snaps when Dawson Knox comes back. And the thing is, he shouldn't. If the Bills were smart, they would keep running 11 personnel with Kincaid out there along with Khalil Shakir. It makes them so much more faster as an offense, and it seems like they're getting better results from that. But yeah, I go ahead and make that trade, Bronson. Good luck, brother.
I'll just say real quick, I agree.
I also agree.
Ramey, you want to make it anonymous?
Yep.
Anonymous.
Let's make it anonymous.
Yeah, Ricky, make it anonymous. Let's see. Blurpy, welcome to the show. Happy Thanksgiving. Debo or Garrett Wilson? Also 49ers or Pat's defense. I got Debo and Pat's in right now. Pat's just for the matchup.
I'm going to go with Debo and the Niners. I'm going to swap out the Pats. I don't want anything to do with that team.
Yeah, I go Debo, and I go with the Pats just because of who they're playing this week.
Yeah. Captain Spock, the Debo has 97 plus total yards in all 5 career meetings versus the Seahawks, 4 of which were 100-yard passing games. So we know who Debo thinks you should take, Blurpy.
Or you know who Captain Spock thinks you should take?
Yeah, I'm like, did I just say that wrong? And then I waited for
Debo
your
also
reaction.
says to pick him.
Yeah, I bet he would agree.
Thanks for stopping by, Blurpy. We appreciate you. If you haven't yet, throw us a like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate your support. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday evening at 7:00 Eastern, as well as Sunday mornings at 11:30. We are there for Tinker Time to help with those last-minute lineup decisions.
Yeah, he says, I'm going to go Debo. I think that's the right call. Kenny, happy Thanksgiving to you. Should I trade Jamar Chase for Kelsey and Hollywood Brown? I had what? Andrews and Burrow. Andrews and not sure what that's trying to say. Maybe just say Andrews, but he's out for the season. And my other wide receivers are ARSB, Waddle, Devontae, and JSN. I'm 8 and 3. I think I'm going to do that. Kelsey's just a huge target whore. He's the only receiver really at Kansas City. Jamar Chase with Jake Browning at quarterback going the rest of the season is everybody on the Bengals is going to take a hit, least of all probably Mixon, but I would trade it. I would do that trade.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll make it 3.
Let's see. And then go with the Niners. Blurpy. Definitely. Oh, sorry, Matt already responded. My bad.
It's all right.
And Captain Spock also recommends New England. So
nice.
Everybody's got an opinion and a lot of data to back it up. And sometimes you're wrong. We're wrong a lot. We're right a lot too. But it does happen.
As long as we're right more than we're wrong, that's what matters. We appreciate you too, Blurpy. Happy Thanksgiving. If you haven't yet, throw us a like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate your support.
Absolutely.
As we're on our drive to 500 subscribers.
Yeah. All right. I'll whip up my aces here. My first one is Vikings quarterback Josh Dobbs. He had his worst game last week and still managed to score 17 fantasy points, almost 17 fantasy points. Bears have allowed the 4th most passing yards and 2nd most passing touchdowns to QBs this season. They're pretty good against the run, so I think that'll offer up more opportunities for Dobb to sling a little bit more and scramble and do what he does on the ground. The rushing upside alone is excellent for him. Okay, next one. My next one is Joe Mixon. I just mentioned him, kind of a blow there with no Joe Burrow shifting over to Jake Browning, lowers the fantasy value for basically all the Bengals players, but probably Mixon the least amount. He posted 21 points last week in a tough matchup against the Ravens with an inexperienced QB like Jake Browning. I think they'll try and establish the run a whole lot more. I like him this week. Giants, what do we got? Giants O-line sucks real bad. Yeah, I get that. Oh, sorry, Matt's typing too. Okay. Deuces. I'll just roll with it really quickly. My first one.
You're going to let Matt do his aces?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't do yours?
No.
Oh,
I made fun of you guys for fucking up, and then we got to talking with the folks in the chat.
Gotcha. All right. Go for it.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Is this me? Yep. So my first ace is Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco. The Raiders are giving up 4.5 yards a carry and the third most rush yards overall. This is a game that I'm expecting the Chiefs to win, not necessarily easily, but I expect them to control most of the game. A lot of that on the back of their defense. It'll give them the ability to shorten up the game while the Chiefs still try and figure out what the hell they're going to do at wide receiver. My second ace is Lamar Jackson. Chargers give up the third most points to QBs at over 23 points a game. He says his ankle is at 100% after tweaking it there in Cincinnati. And this is a game that I think Lamar is really going to be able to take advantage of that Chargers defense.
Ramey, same order. We'll just do it that way.
Okay. My first deuce is Bears running back Khalil Herbert. Since I couldn't use Brian Robinson Jr., I'm an idiot. He came back from injury last week and had 16 carries for only 35 yards, 2.2 average. He was going against the Lions rush defense, which I've heard is the number one rush defense in the NFL. Minnesota, not quite as good, but I think he's going to continue to struggle coming off of that injury. And I think he will not have I think the Bears just kind of distribute the ball too much, especially with Justin Fields running the ball more. So he's my first deuce. My second deuce is Cardinals wide receiver Marquise Hollywood Brown. Just as it seemed to be able to build a connection with Kyler Murray since Kyler Murray's return. Granted, it's only a couple of games, but I don't look for him to get on track against the Rams this weekend. I think Kyler Murray will continue to look at other options, and I just don't think Marquise will have a very good game this week. So for that reason, he is my second deuce.
Nice.
Captain Spock says Lamar is the only QB ever to lead the league in fantasy points per drop back in 2 separate years.
That's impressive. Captain Spock's on his research too.
Yeah, he is. I'm guessing one was the MVP year for sure, you would think.
Oh yeah.
All right, my deuces or my sits. First one this week is Broncos QB Russell Wilson.
Let's ride.
Yeah, let's ride. He passed over 225 last week for the first time since week 3, which looks good until you start to have to play this week against the Browns. Cleveland has allowed by far the lowest EPA per dropback, passing success rate, and passing yards per game to quarterbacks. Mr. Let's Ride belongs on the fucking bench this week. My second ace is Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper. Listen, I love Amari Cooper. I paid $36 for him, for Christ's sakes. He's a great receiver. I think he still has some value left the rest of the season, even with DTR. But this is a brutal spot on the road against a Denver defense that at the beginning of the season you could pass all over, but they are way much better over the last 5 weeks. Second fewest fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. Even with last week's target share of 19.5%, he's still a sit for me this weekend. Captain Spock said, I did a fantasy on Sirius XM. Oh, crap. I love checking out up and coming. Yeah, heck yeah. Man, maybe we'd have you on one time as a little guest. Yeah, we haven't done that in quite a while.
He could be a regular guest. He wouldn't have to be a little guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like regular size Rudy from Bob's
Like
Burgers.
regular size Rudy. I love that show. I'm so pissed I didn't have a Thanksgiving episode this year. But that wraps up my deuces.
Awesome. Well, I guess it's my turn, and I am happy to say that I do have graphics for all of my picks this week. So congratulations, Kyle. You're really stepping your game up here.
Yep.
My first deuce, kind of following your lead there with Russ Wilson. I'm going with Cortland Sutton. Like, look, I know dude's been hot the past few weeks, but the one thing that really travels is defense, and Cleveland's got a Super Bowl caliber defense. I think they're going to cool off the Broncos there, and he's going to disappoint this week. My second deuce is Bills running back James Cook. We've talked about the Philly defense and how the way to beat them is through the air. And James Cook has really been a disappointment this season, considering where you drafted him. I think that disappointment is going to continue this week. That backfield is really turning into a mess, and they haven't even included what's that dickhead who was with Tampa?
Oh, I wasn't listening.
Leonard Fournette. There you go. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got the corpse of Lat Murray out there kind of doing his thing. James Cook, like, you start him if you need to, but I'm not thrilled about it.
Excellent.
Nice. I will go to my lock of the week. We better get it in quick because this game's about to start. I will go 49ers -7 at the Seahawks. We talked about this game off the top. I think the 49ers defense and Brock Purdy are going to go up there and kind of, I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a low scoring game, but I think they're going to easily cover this. I think they'll win by 10-13. I think it'll be, like I said, a relatively low scoring game, but I think just the fact that Geno's been hurt, Ken Walker's banged up, and Charbonnet is going to be in there. But that pass rush and rush defense for San Francisco, I think will hold Seattle down, and I think the Niners will easily cover.
Very nice.
My lock of the week is Panthers at Titans -3.5. Look, it probably seems pretty fucking stupid to lay points with the Titans, but I'm going to do it anyway. The Panthers have lost 9 out of 10 games. They suck. They're a league worst 1-7-2 against the spread, and haven't covered the spread on any of its 5 road games. And I admit betting on a Titans offense that only puts up like 16 a game is probably not the safest of bets, but I'm going to lay this number against the league's worst team. Nice. What do we got here? His show he hosted, Captain was Sports and Rock History, done in Hunter S. Thompson's Gonzo style. Okay. We drank and smoked weed on the air. That was my kind of show, brother. My kind of show.
Give us something to aspire to.
All right.
My lock of the week. I'm going to go with the Cardinals laying the point against the Rams. Puka's hurt. Cooper Kupp is hurt. And Arizona is really starting to look like a bit of a different team now that they've got Kyler Murray back. And let's be real, it's a point at home. I mean, if they just win the game, my worst case scenario is a push. I can't really think of a better lock idea than that on this week's slate, though there was a shit ton of great games to choose from with division lead implications.
Yeah. Nice pick.
Excellent.
All right. You guys ready to hit the road?
Did you already do your lock?
Yeah. I did it first. Niners.
Oh.
Niners -7.
He went first.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
It's okay.
So we'll be talking about it some more, but this watch along that we're now going to do because we hit 100 subscribers. Again, thanks a lot, folks. I think we're targeting Sunday night for week 14, Philly at Dallas.
Yep.
I believe
that's the plan.
That's what
it's going to be a lot of fun.
So that'll be 2 weeks from this Sunday night coming up. So we'll put some stuff on that on the YouTube and the socials as well to remind y'all, but that seems like a great game to do it for. Great NFC East matchup. Right now, I'm ready to go watch NFC West matchup, though. How about you, fellas?
Sounds good to me. Good way to end the day.
And leftovers,
Absolutely.
obviously.
Yes.
Oh, of course.
Make me a plate.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Let's wind this shit down.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, folks. Great being here on Thanksgiving night for you, covering week 12. Don't forget, we'll be back this Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern for Tinker Time, taking your last minute questions for any lineup decisions, trades, any roster management, DFS betting. It's just kind of like an open forum on Sunday for Tinker Time. I'm looking forward to that show. It'll just be me and Matt. Ramey's got a engagement. It is his B day, so he's got some other things to do. But we appreciate you guys joining us. Check us out on all the socials, Stone Down Sports Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and Stone Down Sports 1 on X or Twitter, and the website www.stonedownsportspodcast.com.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us tonight, folks. Have a great Thanksgiving. Eat some more turkey and go to bed.
There you go.
Later.
Appreciate you, Spock. Go Niners.